So, in my last video, I talked about the modern negativity in the Falcom community and what my opinions were on it. I of course ended up talking about Falcom's recent music quality and Mitsuo Senga. During a LAN party I had last weekend, a friend of mine who watched that video requested me to make a video on why and how Falcom music became the way it is now. This is the same friend who got me into becoming a content creator by starting on Twitch. And now it is time for me to dive into the depths of Gehenna yet again. The things I do for my friends sometimes. Now, I have to have a massive disclaimer for this video. A lot of what I'm going to say can't or may not be confirmed as facts. If you watch this video, I ask that you do not take what I say as absolute facts and that you come to your own conclusions. I'm really kicking the hornet's nest with this video. Oh man, I remember when I used to be an innocent summer child YouTuber talking about my experiences on Twitch. Do you guys remember when I talked about the East series? The Trails series? Zwei 2? Xanadu Next? Those were some good innocent times. In that last video, I was overall very positive and optimistic about Falcom against the negative fans. This time, in order to convey why Falcom's music is the way it currently is, there is going to be some negativity here. I want y'all to know I am a massive fan of Falcom, and it's going to stay that way as long as they keep making good games. I'm not here to spread doom and gloom, but rather shine a light on some issues the company has. As Sawada Tsunayoshi from KHR said, you take the good with the bad. Those who know, those who know. I'll even spoil something here for ya. The ending of this video is going to be positive. With all that out of the way, let's get down to business. To start this off, this is a list of composers who left Falcom. Now, I know there are two exceptions on this list, Meiko Ishikawa and Takahiro Unisuga. They still both work at the company, but don't compose anymore. Point is, this is a lot of people who have quit composing for Falcom. And I'm sure there are even more people than this who have made music for Falcom and then quit. Why is the turnover rate for composers super high for Falcom? It's a good question. Now let's get back to modern day Falcom composers. They currently have two composers, Hayato Sanada and Shuntaro Koguchi. Since 2015, Falcom have only hired one new composer, and that is Koguchi. He was hired back in 2020. So there's a high turnover rate for composers, and Falcom is struggling to hire new composers. That's a double whammy of a problem right there. So why is this the case? I believe there are three main reasons for this. The lack of proper crediting for staff members, poor management, and the incident of 2015. And all three of these things are tied to one man by the name of Masayuki Kato. Now I don't know if the way to pronounce his name is Kato or Kato, but I'm gonna go with Kato in this video, because I think it sounds worse. Yeah, I don't like this man very much, even though he is the founder of Falcom. my favorite video game company. Just remember that disclaimer I made earlier in the video, especially once we get to the incident of 2015. So why does Falcom not properly credit their staff members? Back in the golden era of Falcom, which was 1985 to 1988, when games like Xanadu and Ys were dominating the PC gaming market in Japan, many staff members at Falcom participated in interviews and even appeared on TV, making them really famous in the Japanese game industry. However, this golden era abruptly came to an end with a mass exodus of the company's staff from 1988 to 1990. Why did a mass exodus of staff occur? Well, we will get to that soon, but a lot of these employees who left Falcom at this time went on to be quite successful in their own endeavors. Yuzo Koshiro with his music and Tetsuya Takahashi with the Xenos series are probably the most famous Exodus employees. It is widely assumed that this exodus was the cause of Masayuki Kato changing the way employees are credited, with the credits being super vague and generalized to ensure that as little as possible is known to the public on who does what in their games. This is especially bad for the composers of Falcom. In Falcom game credits, the composers are just listed off as Sound Team JDK, with no official way of knowing who composed each and every music track in the game. This must be incredibly discouraging for all the employees at Falcom, not just the composers, and I'm sure it's also a massive red flag to anyone in Japan currently looking for work. It is very likely the mass exodus of 1988 to 1990 was caused by Kato. Allegedly, Kato generally mistreated employees and also massively underpaid them for their work. He also made terrible business decisions that massively held the company back from success, especially his decision to stick with Japanese computers for so long, which were dying, instead of switching to consoles, which caused a lot of frustration with those who worked at the company. Even though it's been over 2 decades since Kato was the president of Falcom, remnants of his leadership still remain as a permanent stain for the company. Now, before I get to the incident of 2015, I first have to explain what the Falcom JDK band is, and a little bit of build-up towards the incident. The JDK band is a contracted band by Falcom to perform arrangements of Falcom songs at concerts for live audiences. Sometimes they're involved in the game soundtracks and super arrange albums. The 2011 to 2015 version of the JDK band was arguably the best one and was sponsored by a subsidiary of Katakawa called Kara Annie. With this massive sponsorship, the quality of the performances and also the scale of the events were the biggest they had ever been. According to anonymous sources, Kato was becoming suspicious of the Kara Annie employee who organized all the JDK band events, thinking this organizer was going to use the JDK band members for his own profit. And so, 3 days before an event called the Japan Game Music Festival 2, in which the JDK band and many other video game bands were set to perform, he contacted the fellow game makers who owned the bands, warning them of this organizer. And from this, enough of the bands pulled out from the event, ensuring that the event was cancelled. It didn't take long for the truth of this stunt to be revealed, resulting in all but one JDK band member quitting Falcom and Kara Annie revoking their sponsorship. Now, regardless if this anonymous source is true or not, the fact remains that all but one JDK band member quit, and Kara Annie revoked their sponsorship of Falcom, all at the same time. Meaning, if what this source said isn't true, something bad still must have happened to get the result we have now. If you ask me, in my opinion, I think most of what this source said is probably true, especially considering that after 2015, Falcom's reputation with most of the music industry was damaged, and that Falcom have only hired one new composer to their company since then. And so, with the history stain of poor management and lingering remnants of bad leadership by Kato, the lack of proper crediting in the company, and the event of 2015, which allegedly involved Kato sabotaging a big music event, the reputation of Falcom in the music industry is terrible, with the end result being it is nearly impossible for Falcom to hire new composers to the company. Which is why, in recent years, Falcom have used Mitsuo Singa as a band-aid solution to the problem. Now with videos, I do them one segment at a time, meaning I'll voice record something and then put it in the video editor and apply the images and music immediately. When I started making this video, I went in with the intent of going much harder on Kato. But when I got to those segments, I toned it down quite a bit. I felt going scorched earth on Kato would be unnecessary, and that with the way the video is currently, still paints the picture sufficiently enough. It also potentially could have been unfair of me if I went hard. After all, I don't personally know Kato. I've only seen and heard the bad things Kato has allegedly done. For all I know, he might not be this crazy paranoid cheap ass that I currently see him as. Now on to the positive finale to this wretched fairy tale. I don't think this Mitsuo Singa era of Falcom can last forever, even though this man is superhuman in his ability to make a lot of tracks in record time. Eventually, he will burn out or demand more money for his services, which would certainly rip the band-aid off, exposing the emergency Falcom are currently in, hopefully spurring Falcom to make some changes. I really don't think it would be all that hard for the company to start properly crediting people. And as for the event of 2015, a proper apology with a meal and drinks and a lot of Dogeza action would certainly go a long way. This is quite an optimistic prediction, but I have faith it could happen. In the meantime though, before my prediction comes to pass, if you are craving some new quality music in the spirit of what Falcom music used to be, I highly recommend listening to the Shijin album, created by the Eclipse Sound Team. It is made by passionate fans of Falcom music who are also very talented, even having the collaboration of a former Falcom composer, Saki Momiyama. Now I gotta say this, just in case. I don't hate Mitsuo Singa. In fact, given the scenario Falcom has put him in, and just how many tracks he has to compose every year with probably very little direction, he's actually not doing too bad of a job here. I actually like a decent amount of songs from him, but he does make a lot of bad or average music as well. Just by saying that doesn't mean I hate him. Alright. With this video ends the whole mini villain arc I started with my previous upload. I'll be back to talking about video games again. If you enjoyed this video, check out my other videos. And also, catch me live on Twitch if you can. I'm doing this thing I call the East Chrono Canon, which is me playing all the Canon East games in chronological order. At the time of this recording, I got E6, 7, and 9 to get through to finish the series. And I'm gonna attempt to finish it before the English release of East 10. So, videos are gonna go down on my list of priorities in the near future here. I'll leave the links in the description of my Twitch and VOD channels. Alright, as per usual, thanks for watching. I'll see you around. Have a good one. Peace.